Israel is vowing to forcefully respond to Hezbollah as tensions rise along the country's northern border with Lebanon.
The Iranian-backed militant group has ramped up its attacks, firing rockets across the border into northern Israel.
And in the meantime, Israel is pressing forward with its operations across parts of Gaza. It coincides with Hamas saying that it has proposed some, quote, non-significant changes to the latest ceasefire proposal. The revisions come nearly 2 weeks after the deal was initially proposed, causing some to question whether the group is actually acting in good faith.
CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Livesay joins us once again from Tel Aviv with more on this. Chris, from what international leaders are saying, it appears as if Israel and Hamas could be inching closer toward a deal. But what's the reality?
That's certainly the hope. You know, according to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he's laying the fault at the feet of Hamas. He says that they spent weeks dithering over this proposal that came from the Biden administration 2 weeks ago that's already been accepted by the government of Israel. And now it's thanks to Hamas that this war has to keep going on. He was visibly frustrated, and you have to start taking into consideration that there are at least members of the Hamas leadership who don't want this war to end. The Wall Street Journal reported earlier this week on messages that they obtained with senior Hamas leaders in which they talked about prolonging the war. They talked about how they had Israel right where they wanted. And these sacrifices, quote unquote, the civilian casualties were necessary in order to demonize Israel in the eyes of public opinion.
Well, that's so disturbing. The other thing that people are obviously trying to keep in their mind are these hostages. And as I understand it, Chris, you're learning more about that rescue of the 4 Israeli hostages this weekend, even speaking to the parents of one of them. What did they have to say?
Yeah, we spoke to the parents of Andrei Kozlov. They were very forthcoming. They talked about how for months their son was hogtied, had both his hands and his feet bound. They said how he had to eat like an animal because he had to stick his face directly into the food. He also endured psychological torture. His captors told him that his family didn't care about him anymore, that his mother had gone on vacation to Greece and had forgot about him, that his wife was dating other men, that the country didn't care about him. In fact, when the rescue actually happened, it took him a few moments to actually believe what was happening. In fact, you can see the sense of shock in his eyes in that video that's been provided by the Israeli military that's gone around the world by now.
Just such a psychological trauma as well as the physical. Chris, I want to ask you about the tensions that are increasing along Israel's northern border with Lebanon, considering the extent to which the IDF has fought just in the past year. Does it have the capability for a prolonged engagement on the other end of the country if it comes to that?
The short answer is yes. At least the military certainly feels that way, and the defense ministry feels that way. If not, they wouldn't have nearly launched a full-scale invasion of Lebanon, of southern Lebanon, in order to eradicate Hezbollah, or at least to completely take out their capabilities militarily right after October 7th. We know that they narrowly launched such an offensive just as they were going to fight Hamas, but decided not to. Bear in mind that ever since October 7th, you have about 80,000 Israelis who have been evacuated from the northern border with Lebanon. So most people in Israel certainly feel like this is going to happen sooner or later. They cannot tolerate this threat on their northern border.
All right, Chris Livesay for us in Tel Aviv with the latest. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.